The Grand Council chamber of the Galactic Confederation glittered like a jewelry box filled with bioluminescent creatures, which, to be fair, was exactly what it was. The assembled representatives from across known space pulsed and glowed with varying degrees of agitation as they discussed what had become known as the human problem. "They're spreading faster than a Xylaxian stomach virus." Ambassador Crix's tentacles flashed angry patterns of red and orange. "Just last cycle, they established 3 new colonies. 3. High Counselor Vectora, her crystalline form refracting light across the chamber, attempted to maintain order. "Please, colleagues, let's approach this with the dignity befitting—" "Dignity," interrupted Representative Blurks, his gelatinous form quivering with indignation. "These humans don't even have proper electromagnetic communication organs. They talk by pushing air through meat tubes in their faces." A wave of disgusted murmurs rippled through the assembly. Several photosynthetic species darkened their leaves in distaste. "Not to mention," added Ambassador Zix 427, their mechanical chassis whirring as they pulled up projection data, "they intentionally ingest psychoactive substances that impair their cognitive functions for fun. The data shows 83% of their species regularly consume something called alcohol, despite knowing its detrimental effects." High Counselor Vectora's crystals dimmed slightly in what passed for a sigh among her species. "Yes, they are unusual, but they've managed to achieve faster-than-light travel despite their biological limitations. We cannot simply ignore." "Then we eliminate them!" The harsh voice cut through the chamber like a plasma blade. All eyes, optical sensors, and sensory organs turned toward the dark corner where a figure stood, previously unnoticed. The temperature in the room dropped several degrees as Commander Drath of the Vex'thrax Assassin Guild stepped into the light. His exoskeleton, black as deep space and covered in natural weapon ports, gleamed menacingly. "The Vex'thrax have eliminated 17 potentially problematic species in our guild's history," Drath continued, mandibles clicking. "We are the finest killers in known space. Our success rate is 100%. Representative Blurks's gelatinous form rippled with relief. "The Vex'thrax, yes, they ended the Kraken uprising in just 3 cycles." "And the neural network rebellion," added Ambassador Crix, tentacles now pulsing a more hopeful shade of purple. Commander Drath's mandibles clicked in what might have been amusement. "The humans will be simple. Our preliminary analysis shows they are soft-bodied, lack natural weapons, and most amusingly, spend 1/3 of their time in a state of unconsciousness they call sleep." High Counselor Vectora's crystals pulsed with concern. "Are we certain this is the wisest?" "I've already dispatched my best team," Drath interrupted, "led by Master Assassin Sitil. They specialize in removing potential threats before they become actual problems." His compound eyes gleamed. "Really, the humans should thank us. We're saving them from the embarrassment of trying to join galactic society with their limitations." The council chamber erupted in approving flashes, waves, and electromagnetic pulses. Even High Counselor Vectora's protests were drowned out in the general enthusiasm. "How long until we can expect results?" Ambassador Zix 427 queried, their mechanical voice eager. Commander Drath's mandibles spread in what passed for a smile among his species. "Oh, I expect we'll have this wrapped up within a planetary rotation. 2 at most. After all," he gestured dismissively with one blade-tipped limb, "what could possibly go wrong?" High Counselor Vectora's crystals flickered in what might have been prescient worry. She'd read some concerning reports about human resilience, but surely the legendary Vexythrax knew what they were doing. Surely. In the depths of space, a sleek black ship was already approaching Earth, its crew of elite assassins preparing for what they assumed would be a routine extermination. They really should have done more research on human history. Master Assassin Zatil's squad materialized in what their intelligence suggested was a standard human gathering location, a Walmart parking lot at 3 a.m. The elite team of killers activated their stealth fields and spread out to observe their prey. "Status report," Zatil chittered through their neural network. "Sir, I'm observing a human performing some kind of ritual combat with an inanimate transport device," reported Scout Yazik. Through their shared vision, the team watched a human kicking a car tire and swearing creatively. "Fascinating," Zatil noted. "They challenge non-sentient objects to establish dominance. Document this behavior." Across the parking lot, Assassin Rek was watching a different human attempting to carry 17 bags of groceries in one trip, despite clearly struggling. "Sir, I believe I'm witnessing an endurance ritual. The subject is testing their load-bearing capabilities to dangerous limits." "These creatures are more militant than we thought," Xatil mused. "They constantly test their physical limitations." The team spent the next several hours documenting what they believed to be critical intelligence about human behavior. They watched in horror as humans consumed what their scanners identified as gas station sushi at 4 a.m. They documented teenagers chugging something called Mountain Dew, while their vital signs reached alarming levels. They observed a human in business attire practicing a presentation in their car while simultaneously eating a burrito and applying makeup. How are they still alive as a species?" whispered tech specialist Zrix after watching someone mix energy drinks with coffee. Their observations continued into daylight. The team followed various humans trying to understand their patterns. They watched in confusion as humans stood in long lines for something called Starbucks, despite their scans showing 17 other identical establishments within walking distance. "Sir," reported Scout Yuzik, "I believe I've identified their warrior caste. They wear specialized uniforms and gather in structures labeled CrossFit." Through their shared feed, the team watched humans voluntarily submitting themselves to what appeared to be torture devices, lifting heavy objects repeatedly, while an overseer shouted encouragement. "Their pain tolerance is remarkable," Still noted with growing concern, "and they do this voluntarily." "Sir," Rek's urgent call came through. "You need to witness this immediately." The feed switched to show a human child on something called a playground. The small human was climbing up a slide in the wrong direction, repeatedly falling, getting back up, and trying again, while a larger human watched calmly. "They train their young through controlled failure," Extil realized, his mandibles clicking nervously. "Building resilience through repeated trauma, diabolical." The team regrouped in their cloaked ship as evening approached, comparing notes with growing unease. "Sir," tech specialist Zrix pulled up their collected data. "I've been analyzing their information networks. They have something called Florida Man that defies all known laws of probability and survival." "And their entertainment," added Yazik. "They watch simulations of their own species dying in countless ways for fun. They call them horror movies." Extil chittered thoughtfully. "Perhaps we should revise our initial assessment. These humans appear to—" He was interrupted by Rek's urgent signal. "Sir," a human just approached a clearly aggressive animal, pointed at it and said, "Psst, psst, psst, psst. They're attempting to manipulate wildlife through sonic warfare." "That's not the worst part," Zrix added, mandibles trembling. "I just intercepted something they call TikTok. Sir, they deliberately consume pods of cleaning chemicals as social challenges." The elite team of assassins sat in stunned silence, watching through their feeds as humans continued their baffling behaviors. A group of teens was attempting to stack themselves in a vertical tower while recording it. A man was trying to open a jar by hitting it against a table. Someone was eating something called a Carolina Reaper pepper, while their friends cheered. "Perhaps," Exatil said slowly, "we should gather more intelligence before proceeding with the elimination protocol." The team chittered in unanimous agreement, none of them wanting to admit they were becoming genuinely afraid of these seemingly insane creatures who treated their own survival as optional. Through the ship's viewport, they watched a human parallel parking while drinking hot coffee and arguing on their phone, somehow succeeding at all three tasks simultaneously. They had clearly underestimated their target. After extensive surveillance, the Vexythrax Assassination team decided to start with what they assumed would be an easy target, a human government official who appeared particularly vulnerable. Their first attempt was meticulously planned, timed to coincide with the target's morning jog. Extil positioned his team strategically along the running path, their advanced cloaking technology rendering them invisible. The plan was simple, a precisely timed accident involving the official, a loose drone, and gravity. What they hadn't counted on was the official's new fitness tracker accidentally detecting their cloaked energy signatures as competing joggers. The competitive human, believing they were being outpaced by invisible runners, suddenly changed their route to beat their personal best, completely avoiding the elaborately planned trap. How did they know? Yazik hissed in frustration. Our cloaking technology is perfect. New plan, Extil commanded, trying to maintain his professional composure. We move to target Beta. Their second attempt focused on a prominent military leader. The team planned to sabotage the leader's vehicle with an untraceable mechanical failure. Vrek, their infiltration specialist, crept under the car in the dead of night. Sir, Rek's confused voice came through their neural link. The human has already sabotaged their own vehicle. These components are held together with something called duct tape, and is that a zip tie connecting the exhaust system? Before they could adjust their plan, the military leader emerged from the building, took one look at their car, shrugged, and proceeded to drive it anyway. The vehicle made sounds that violated several laws of physics, but somehow continued functioning. These humans, tech specialist Zrix observed with horror, they don't just survive catastrophic mechanical failures, they expect them. The third attempt should have been foolproof. The team targeted a human scientist planning to use their own experimental equipment against them. They infiltrated the laboratory late at night, carefully repositioning dangerous materials to create a lethal accident. What they hadn't expected was for another scientist to be pulling an all-nighter, fueled by something called Red Bull and desperation. The bleary-eyed human wandered into the lab, noticed the repositioned equipment and merely muttered, "Not again, Dave," before absently correcting all their sabotage while searching for more coffee. Did they say again? Yazik asked, mandibles twitching nervously. This happens frequently enough for them to have a routine. Zatil watched in disbelief as the scientists proceeded to mix chemicals that their scanners indicated should never be combined, while simultaneously eating something labeled 3-day-old pizza and typing with their elbows. Sir, Rek reported, I've reviewed their security footage. Last week they had an actual explosion in this laboratory. The humans treated it as a minor inconvenience. Several of them took images of themselves near the blast site for their social media accounts. The team regrouped in their ship, their professional pride severely dented. 3 perfect assassination attempts, thwarted not by skill or detection, but by the humans' sheer chaotic nature and apparently infinite capacity to normalize danger. Perhaps, Zrik suggested, bringing up their collected data, we're approaching this wrong. These humans, they seem to have evolved beyond normal survival instincts. They treat lethal situations as inconveniences. Extil clicked his mandibles thoughtfully. Show me the statistics from our attempts. The holographic display showed their targets not only surviving but seemingly thriving. The jogger had posted about their best time ever on something called Instagram. The military leader had given their death trap vehicle a name and was now emotionally attached to it. The scientist had submitted a paper about their accidental discovery made during their caffeine-fueled all-nighter. Sir, Yazik said quietly, I've been monitoring their entertainment channels. They have thousands of scenarios about aliens attempting to kill them. They've imagined every possible way they could be attacked. And in every scenario, they win. Not through superior technology or skill, but through what they call dumb luck and stubbornness. They fantasize about defeating superior forces, Rek added, and then proceed to accidentally do exactly that in real life. It's like they've weaponized chaos itself. Zatil stared at the footage of their failed attempts, watching a compilation of humans casually avoiding death through what appeared to be a combination of obliviousness, spite, and statistical impossibility. We are the galaxy's most elite assassination squad, he said slowly. We have ended civilizations, we have toppled empires, we have never failed a mission. He paused, watching as their scientist target accidentally created a new form of energy-efficient fuel while trying to reheat their coffee. Until now. The team sat in uncomfortable silence, their professional pride warring with their growing realization that they were dealing with something beyond their experience, a species that treated near-death experiences as networking opportunities. Should we proceed with more attempts? Yazik asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer. Extil watched as their military target's car, now held together with what appeared to be optimism and paperclips, somehow passed a vehicle's safety inspection. No, he decided. We need to understand what we're dealing with first, monitor and observe. There must be some logic to their survival, some pattern we're missing. As if to punctuate his point, their feed showed the jogger target deciding to try parkour after watching a 5-minute video tutorial. The galaxy's deadliest assassins settled in to watch, equal parts horrified and fascinated, as humans continued to casually defy probability, physics, and basic self-preservation instincts. Having failed in their direct assassination attempts, the Vexythrax team decided to study human military history to better understand their adversaries. This, as it turned out, was a terrible mistake for their confidence. "Sir," tech specialist Zrix called out, his voice carrying an unusual tremor, "you need to see this data on human warfare immediately." Extil and the rest of the team gathered around the holographic display. "Show me." According to historical records, humans once charged across open fields against automated projectile weapons on purpose. They called this revolutionary war tactics. The disturbing part, some of them survived through sheer probability defiance. Yazik's mandibles clicked nervously. Surely they abandoned such methods after realizing their ineffectiveness. "No," Zrix continued, "they kept doing it. Then they added explosives, then chemical weapons, then nuclear devices. Each time humans encountered a new way to die, they didn't cower. They took notes and wondered how to weaponize it." The team watched historical footage of human warfare with growing horror. The more they learned, the more their professional assessment of humanity shifted from primitive targets to probable doom of all rational species. "They fought a war in trenches," Rek reported, scanning through more data. "For years, in the mud, while dying from something called Spanish flu. They just kept fighting. Some humans rode horses at tanks, and somehow some of them survived that too." Ixtil paced the ship's command center, his elite training warring with his growing existential dread. "What about their modern warfare capabilities?" Zrix pulled up more recent data. "Sir, they've developed something called psychological warfare. They don't just try to kill their enemies, they try to convince them that resistance is futile through something called aggressive mimetic warfare." "You mean advanced mind control?" Extil asked. "No, sir. They make jokes about their enemies. They turn them into what they call memes. They defeat their opponent's morale through mockery and something called viral videos. Our psychological profiles have no defense against this." The team spent hours analyzing human conflict resolution methods, each discovery more disturbing than the last. They learned about guerrilla warfare, where humans turned their own chaos into a military strategy. They studied human special forces who seemed to treat possible death as a mild inconvenience. "Sir," Yazik interrupted, "I've found something even more disturbing. Humans have something called extreme sports. They jump out of perfectly functional aircraft, they climb frozen waterfalls, they chase storms. For entertainment." "That's not possible," Rek argued. "No species deliberately seeks danger without purpose." "Observe." Yazik displayed footage of humans participating in various extreme sports. The team watched in horrified silence as humans strapped boards to their feet and slid down mountains, as they jumped between buildings for something called parkour, as they willingly entered cages with aggressive predators. "They're young," Zrix added, pulling up more data. "Practice something called learning from mistakes. They deliberately allow their offspring to fail at tasks to build resilience. They call it character building." Extil's professional demeanor finally cracked. "Are you telling me they weaponize failure itself?" "Yes, sir, and it gets worse. They have these training grounds called kindergartens, where they start this process early. The young humans learn to adapt to chaos, to embrace unpredictability, to—" Zrix's voice faltered, "to finger paint." The team took a moment to process this information. Their species learned through perfect execution and careful planning. Humans learned by doing everything wrong until they accidentally did it right, and then they celebrated with something called a pizza party. "Sir," Rex said quietly, "I've been analyzing their entertainment again. They have countless scenarios about their own extinction, but in every story, some humans survive. Not through superior technology or strength, but through what they call cockroach-like tenacity. They admire these cockroaches," Yazik added. "Small creatures that survive everything. Humans see themselves the same way. They're proud of being unkillable pests." Ixotil reviewed all the data they'd gathered. Humans had survived ice ages with pointy sticks. They'd crossed oceans in wooden boats while fighting scurvy. They'd looked at deadly animals and decided to domesticate them. They'd seen their own mortality rate and treated it as a challenge. "Commander Drath needs to know," Zatil finally declared. "These humans, they're not just another species to eliminate. There's something else. something that doesn't follow the normal rules of survival. "What should we report exactly?" Zrix asked, still scrolling through footage of humans doing increasingly improbable things. "Report that humans don't just adapt to survive," Exetil said, watching a video of someone called a Florida man wrestling an alligator while drinking something called a beer. "They adapt because they're bored. They seek out new ways to almost die, then study those ways, then turn them into sports. They're not just enduring species, they're actively hunting for new challenges." The elite assassination team, for the first time in their careers, felt genuine fear. Not of human weapons or technology, but of humanity's seemingly infinite capacity to treat lethal danger as an interesting hobby. "Send the reports," Satil ordered, "and pray to the void that we never have to face them in actual combat. They'd probably enjoy it too much." The team's final mission failure occurred in what humans called a Starbucks at precisely 8:27 a.m. on a Monday. In retrospect, Ixatil would realize this was the worst possible time and place to confront humans. Their target was a mid-level bureaucrat who, according to their intelligence, helped coordinate human space exploration efforts. The plan was simple: intercept them during their morning routine, stage an accident, retreat. They had not counted on what humans called Monday morning rush hour. "Target is approaching," Yazik reported through their neural link, moving to intercept. The team had positioned themselves strategically around the coffee shop. Their stealth fields were active, their weapons primed. Everything was perfect. Then the morning rush hit. A stream of humans, all in various states of caffeine deprivation, poured into the small space. The assassins found themselves surrounded by dozens of aggressive humans, frantically seeking their morning stimulant fix. "Sir," Rex's panicked voice came through, "I've lost visual on the target. There are too many humans. They're not scanning their surroundings at all. They're just pushing through like mindless drones." "Hold position," Exetil ordered, right before a sleep-deprived human walked straight into him. The human, staring at their communication device, bounced off his cloaked form and merely grunted, "Sorry, Pole," before continuing their zombie-like shuffle toward the counter. Did they just mistake me for structural support?" Exetil clicked in disbelief. Before anyone could respond, chaos erupted. The coffee shop's automated drink preparation system malfunctioned, causing a delay in service. The assembled humans didn't panic. Instead, they did something much worse. They adapted. "They're forming an efficient queue," Zrix reported in horror. "They're establishing a temporary micro-society based on their shared caffeine dependency. Sir, I'm detecting dangerous levels of passive-aggressive energy." Their target was somewhere in the crowd, but the team's sophisticated targeting systems were overwhelmed by the mass of human life signs, all showing alarmingly elevated stress levels. Then someone spilled their drink. The following sequence of events would later be analyzed extensively by Vex'thrax tactical experts. A human, dodging the spill, bumped into Yazik's cloaked form. Their stealth field flickered momentarily. In any other situation, this would have caused panic. Instead, a barista looked up and said, "Oh, great, the holographic art installation is glitching again. I told corporate these things were a waste of money." Several humans nodded in agreement, completely unfazed by the momentary appearance of an alien assassin. One even took a picture for their social media. "Sir," Rex's voice had risen several octaves, "the humans are complaining about us to management. They're filling out customer feedback forms. They're giving us one-star reviews." Extil tried to maintain control of the situation, stay focused, locate the target, and... He was interrupted by the arrival of what humans called a Karen, who demanded to speak to a manager about the tacky alien decorations. The team watched in stunned silence as their target, having reached the counter, ordered something called a venti quadruple shot espresso with extra espresso. "Sir," Zrix reported, scanning the beverage, "those levels of stimulants, they're approaching lethal doses. The human is willingly consuming poison for enhanced productivity." The situation deteriorated further when someone's mobile order was misplaced. The humans didn't react with the expected anger. Instead, they began offering detailed suggestions for workflow optimization and sharing their own mobile order horror stories. They're treating chaos as a bonding experience," Yazik observed, his professional detachment cracking. The final straw came when their target, now armed with their chemical stimulant, turned and looked directly at Zigzatil's cloaked form. "Listen," they said, somehow meeting his invisible eyes, "I haven't had my coffee yet, and I've got 3 Zoom meetings before noon. I don't know if you're actually alien assassins or just some viral marketing stunt, but either way, you're blocking the sugar station. Move." The galaxy's deadliest assassins, faced with a caffeine-deprived human's Monday morning wrath, stepped aside. "Fall back," Extil ordered. "Tactical retreat, now." The team extracted themselves from the coffee shop, their sophisticated combat training useless against the primal force of humans seeking their morning coffee. Back in their ship, the team sat in stunned silence, processing what they'd witnessed. "Sir," Vexythrax finally spoke, "I've analyzed the chemical composition of their preferred morning beverage. By all rights, those levels of caffeine should be lethal, yet they voluntarily consume it daily, some of them multiple times per day. They've weaponized their own addiction," Rek added. "They've turned their dependency into a strength. The more stressed they are, the more dangerous they become." Still looked at his elite team, each of them shaken by their encounter with peak human efficiency, driven by synthetic stimulants and deadline pressure. "We're done," he declared. "No more attempts. These humans, they've evolved beyond conventional warfare. They've merged with chaos itself." Through the ship's viewport, they watched their target practically skip to their workplace, powered by enough caffeine to kill a small animal. The deadliest assassins in the galaxy had finally met their match, humans on a Monday morning before coffee. The Grand Council chamber fell into absolute silence as Commander Drath finished reading Master Assassin Dexatil's final report. Several council members had changed colors, some had partially dissolved, and at least one photosynthetic species had stress-shed all their leaves. "This," High Councillor Vectora's crystals flickered erratically. "This cannot be accurate." Commander Drath's mandibles clicked in agitation. "Every word has been verified. My best team, the most efficient killers in the galaxy, have requested immediate retirement and extensive psychological counseling." The report's highlights floated in holographic display above the chamber. Humanity threat assessment, final analysis. Species deliberately consumes lethal doses of stimulants for improved work performance. Regularly survives situations that defy statistical probability. Treats near-death experiences as networking opportunities. Has weaponized both success and failure. Demonstrates immunity to logical behavioral patterns. Shows signs of actively enjoying combat situations. Classification, extinction-proof murder, monkeys. "They call it running on spite and caffeine," Commander Drath continued, his exoskeleton notably duller than during his first appearance. "My team observed humans working 12-hour shifts sustained purely by something called instant noodles and energy drinks. They're essentially immortal through sheer stubbornness." Ambassador Crix's tentacles had gone completely white. "But your success rate, your guild has never failed before." "We've never encountered a species that treats survival as optional," Drath responded. "They don't follow the rules. They don't even acknowledge the existence of rules." One of them looked directly at my cloaked assassins and called them a marketing stunt. The council chamber erupted in panicked communications. Electromagnetic pulses flew wildly. Several members began stress molting. "Order!" High Councillor Vectora's voice cut through the chaos. "We need a proper assessment. Commander, your professional recommendation?" Drath's compound eyes dimmed. "Officially, the Vexythrax Assassin Guild recommends classifying Earth and all human territories as absolutely do not engage zones. Unofficially," he paused, mandibles trembling slightly, "we recommend praying they never decide to expand aggressively." "Surely it can't be that bad," Representative Blurks quivered hopefully. "They have something called horror movies where they imagine thousands of ways to die horribly, then figure out how to survive those scenarios. For entertainment." Drath pulled up more holographic data. "They call particularly dangerous activities hold my beer moments. They actively seek out new ways to almost die." The council watched footage of humans participating in something called Black Friday shopping. Several members had to look away. "The worst part," Drath continued, "is that they're beginning to influence other species. My team reported seeing several alien tourists on Earth attempting to consume coffee and engage in human recreational activities. The contamination has already begun." Ambassador Zix 427's mechanical chassis whirred in distress. "What are our options?" "Options?" Drath laughed harshly. "They've already won. They don't even know they're at war, and they've won. My team observed their young training in facilities called daycares. Do you know what they do there? They fall down, get back up, and keep going. They're training resilience before they can even speak properly. The council chamber fell into defeated silence as more details from the report scrolled past. Humans respond to threats by making jokes about them. They've turned their own mortality into an endless series of memes. They document their near-death experiences for social media clout. They've developed something called parkour, which is basically tactical movement but unnecessary. There's one more thing, Drath added quietly, something we discovered in their historical records. During their earlier development, humans would often chase prey until it collapsed from exhaustion. They didn't use weapons or traps, they just kept following their target for days, until it gave up from sheer psychological trauma. They psychologically terrorized their prey. Ambassador Crix's tentacles curled in horror. They call it persistence hunting, Drath confirmed, and they're still doing it. Now they call it customer service and social media engagement. High Councillor Vectora's crystals had dimmed to an almost imperceptible glow. The motion to classify humans as do not engage is on the floor, all in favor. The vote was unanimous, possibly the first time in galactic history that every council member agreed on anything. Let the record show, Vectora announced, that humanity is hereby classified as a protected species, not for their protection, but for ours. Furthermore, all members of the Confederation are advised to— She paused, crystals flickering uncertainly. Be really, really nice to them. Commander Drath turned to leave the chamber, then stopped. One final note. My team intercepted some of their entertainment broadcasts. They've been imagining scenarios where advanced alien civilizations try to eliminate them, and they've been planning countermeasures. For fun, they're actually looking forward to it. The council chamber erupted in another wave of panic as Drath departed. Behind him, he could hear High Councillor Vectora implementing new protocols for human interaction, including mandatory training in something called customer service voice and polite email etiquette. In the depths of space, Exitil's team had already begun their retirement, though they still occasionally woke up in cold sweats remembering the coffee shop incident. Their ship's AI had logged one final entry in the mission report. Humanity status unkillable, not through superior strength or technology, but through weaponized chaos and spite. Primary defense strategy appears to be accidental immortality powered by caffeine and poor decision-making. Galaxy's deadliest assassins hereby request transfer to literally any other target, preferably something easier, like a black hole.